Hey everyone, Daniel Whitlow here. So we're looking at the 1948 John Deere B. This was my original or first project on this channel. It's the tractor that never ceases to frustrate me. You can see I had finally gotten like the body back, or the body work, the hood, tin sheet metal. I had it all on, basically everything buttoned up, except the grills and the medallion. And I had ran this a little bit, of course, before I painted the tractor, and I had ran it some after I painted the tractor. But lo and behold, the last couple times I had ran it, it started puking out oil in the front of the fan shaft. Now, there's no oil in here. Back in our crankcase area here, so our governor normally sits here. This is getting splash fed onto here. And so the oil that goes to this bearing here drains down, and this hole down here, you can see it, matches up to this hole here in the governor. Now I will say, let me stop for a minute. Throughout the late years of the bees, John Deere was experimenting with all of this so much that you really have to look at your serial number and look at what type of system you have going on here, because they changed multiple times over the last couple of years. But anyway, so for this year, a 48, the oil drained back down there, and then it, let's see here, I'm trying to remember, or is it fed up through there? I can't remember, but anyway, it goes back through there, drains from there. But somehow, I don't know if through all what little runtime I had, but enough that it went in this oil tube and filled up to here. But you can see I've got oil here, and it was just puking oil out. I mean, just spraying oil everywhere. So again, in this year, inside of here is like a little pump. And if you look back at my original video putting this together, someone told me, you don't have to worry about that pump in there, because I knew it was seized up. We'll take it apart here and show it. But now I'm wondering if that somehow is how I'm getting oil up here. I don't know. Anyway, so I took the governor off to make sure that oil passage is clear, because you hear people talking about that drain being clogged, and once it's clogged, then it can go places it shouldn't. But as I thought, I had cleaned everything out when I originally did this tractor. So the only thing that I can think of is this not working right, is somehow letting oil in here and so on. Like this here, there's like a little foam piece that goes around it to seal it. I mean, the only other thing is if it's like, well, it can't be completely blocking it, because then oil wouldn't be passing through it all. I don't know. So anyway, we're going to take this fan shaft out completely. Going to take it all apart. So, and unfortunately, it has to all come apart to get inside here. And I'm hoping to sneak this out of here without taking off a bunch of other stuff. We'll see. We'll unbolt it under here, and hopefully once I take this tube off, I can finagle this thing out of here. If not, more is going to have to be done. So that's the goal for today. And sadly, when I go to put this all back together, since it had runtime on it before it developed this issue, I don't really know how I'm going to tell that I've solved the issue until I run it for a while again. I really don't want to take this upper water pipe off again. I just had it off and sealed it back up, but if getting just the governor off was a real pain without taking this upper water pipe off. If you take this off, then it can easily set it down, time the governor gear for the magneto real easily. Why it's kind of a pain: one, you got to redo the gasket every time, and two, my drain plug on this bee, it's a gnarly mess. Turns out I didn't even realize it when I originally took this off the tractor. I never took the drain plug out. Well, it's all boogered up, seized in there, so I can't just drain the coolant. So if I pop this off, like I can somewhat drain it from like the lower pipe or something like that, but it's messy. Anyways, enough complaining. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna take this line off here and take this bolt out here. Of course, I've got the hood and gas tank and everything already off, which took the sediment bowl with it. And I had to take off the oil bath and air inlet to the carburetor. Just frustrating. This tractor just frustrated me, but it was the first one I ever did and should have been junk, really, but yeah, it's here nor there. All right, so let's talk about getting the fan shaft apart. Now, I've done another series on my 39A doing this in a little more detail. I'll put a link in the top right. So I've got these long carpenter clamps here that are pushing off the back end. You got to be very careful now. I'd already had this apart, so this is coming apart real easy. These pieces here are cast aluminum. They break super easy. A lot of times this gets seized up. If you break these, you can get new ones. There's 2 half keys in here that we got to get out. So you can see I've drawn this whole assembly back because it's spring loaded. And of course I'm gonna have to tap that with a hammer. This collar goes back and then these keys come out. And then at that point, everything can come off of this shaft. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna tap this with a hammer, take these keys out and take it all apart, because you gotta do that in order to take all of that apart back there, as you'll see. There we go. Collar's back. 1 key's out. 2 keys are out. Collar comes off. This collar is tapered, so you got to make sure that you put it on in the right direction because it's going against the taper of these keys. And now I'll release the tension on these and everything comes off. All right, so sorry, the front of the fan came off. And then we've got the back side of our friction drive here. Of course, this one doesn't want to come off. There we go. Spring. So on the back side here, these are like friction washers. So that's where, as the tractor heats up, it puts a little more friction on there, or really, I guess, maybe it has nothing to do with the tractor warming up, but I think the front of that shaft is bent a little bit. I think that's why that other piece was getting hung up. There we go. Okay, there's an O-ring on the back side of that we want to keep tabs on. And I believe we can take the shaft out, but I got to confirm that. All right, a couple more things to note. These, what look like gaskets here, are actually shims on the end going to the governor. Don't lose track of them. You got to have that right, otherwise your tractor, if it's too tight, will have a really bad squeal and whine to it. You can wear these gears out. So I just strictly pulled this all out of the fan shaft tube. And you can see inside here's this collar. There's probably not the official word for it. And this piece here is eccentric on the shaft. So as the engine is rotating, okay, it is spinning this circle, sort of in and out really. And that's where these pieces here are seized in here. This is your pump, because as this is going up and down, that is what is acting as your pump. So I don't know that I need to take this apart further. I got to see, because you can take all of this off by taking the snap ring off here, and then all of this comes apart. I don't know that I need to do that. If I just need in here, that's what I think. So I'm gonna probably pop this piece out. I know there's some springs in here, and we'll go from there. All right, so I cleaned up this piece. Probably should have replaced it. I got new springs. Just for comparison, old spring to new spring. These things are these springs are $26 a piece, of course. But by the time you research what length they should be and coil and everything else, you might as well just suck it up and pay for it. But anyway, so I'm gonna put this in here, and then I'll just show you then how it spins around and makes this move. So I'll show this as best I can. Like I said, this donut collar here is on that eccentric here. So as I spin the fan shaft, you'll see it's moving that block up and down. And then that acts as kind of like an air pump. I should have showed you when I had it apart. So on the back side of this, there's a hole that it pumps the air into, and then feeds it from the underside here, basically into the governor to the crankcase. So that's how that ventilator pump is working. So I think I'll throw the rest of this fan shaft back together, see if we can get this back on. All right, so I was able to successfully kind of get this back on here without moving this upper water pipe. Got the fan shaft sort of in place, but I didn't have it bolted down. And then we got the governor on. And of course I made sure when I had taken it off that the slot was horizontal, because we're at left number 1 cylinder, top dead center. And when you're at that position, the slot for your magneto should be perfectly horizontal. You can see it there. And then once we had that seated on there, then I bolted up the fan shaft to it. And sorry, I think my zoom is being a little weird. There we go. And so, yeah, of course my hands are a little oily and greasy, so just made a mess of everything. But we got our tube coming in here. This is bolted down. And yeah, so I'm trying to think. I read the manual, and how it works is this is pumping air from, let me think about this. All right, I remember it now. So it pumps air into the crankcase, or to the air pump from here. It pulls it in through the fan shaft and goes into the crankcase. Then basically your pressure that it's putting in is meant to come out through the valve cover, your line down here, and then it pumps it into your air intake to any exhausts or fumes or whatever chemicals that they were trying to get out of the engine would be burned and then go out through the combustion process. So that's how this is supposed to work. So I'm going to get the oil bath on here, and then I believe the hood is ready to go back on. Okay, I believe I've got everything hooked up. So got my fuel line hooked up, the air breather or air vent return back into the air intake, air inlet pipe, all of this. Got my oil line hooked up, dash back on, obviously my hood back on. Don't know if I said this in another clip. If you want to know kind of a trick not to scratch in your air stack, cover it with some paper of some sort, tape it, and you can see I actually ripped it as it was coming back on, but I don't think I scratched it. Maybe a couple nicks on the backside, but not too bad. So last thing you want to do is not have anything on this and just scrape it all the way down. Man, it's raining pretty good out there. So yeah, let's see here, I gotta hook these back up. When I took this apart, I hooked up a wire to this so that when I, could remove the hood, and you can't do it with these wires in here, I fed the wire through it and then cut the wire here. So when I went to reinstall those wire, I had that wire in there already. And I just hooked up those wires and fed it right back through. So that worked great. Still need to put on the magneto, and that might be it. We got now that I got the wiring hooked up a little bit, I can hook up this throttle line and go from there. Well, I must have done at least one thing right, because it at least runs. Not running quite as smooth as I'd like it to be. Not sure why, but I guess we'll figure it out. One stupid thing you may have noticed is that's on the wrong side. So I'll fix that probably another day. Hey, and word to the wise, don't stick your hand in here and see how much give this has while the tractor's running. That fan blade will hit your hand. Another issue for another day is the flywheel. So my old flywheel, sitting over here. Let's flip this bad boy over. Had cracks in it. You don't see it as prominently now because it's not clamped to the crank, but otherwise you could see the cracks worse. So I got a different flywheel. I put this one on. Doesn't have cracks. But the problem that I seem to be having is, and I'll try and do this without shaking the camera too much, is it does not fit tightly on that crank. It's got slop. And I'm almost positive my other flywheel did not have that issue. So I'm wondering if this flywheel is no good. But I'll probably at some point take this one off, put the old one back on just to see how that fit, to confirm my theory. And hopefully it is not an issue with the crank and the splines being worn on the crank. Yeah, so with that, I think we're just going to end the video today. Time to go home for dinner. At some point, this thing's going to have to be cleaned up. And I've got the flywheel cover. Here's my flywheel cover. So that's ready to go on whenever I figure out the flywheel issues. And grills are not back from the body painter. And yeah, so that's where we're at. So thanks for joining. Hopefully I have plenty of other videos coming soon on various projects. Hope to delve into 2-cylinders a little bit more than what I have been on the new gen. Still working on the 4020 high crop over there. I might have some videos on that coming up. So, oh, and I forgot to give a shout out to Bill, who emailed me. Here's a picture of Bill's John Deere bee that he has been working on. So thanks for sending in a picture of your bee. Appreciate that. Love seeing photos from other people. You can email me anytime at danielfarmchannel@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. With that, you all have a good day.